Hi and welcome back to BookTube with Amy. This is going to be my most recent weekly wrap up. So I've had a really good reading week, which I am pleased with. I feel like this month has definitely gone a lot better than February did. February was a struggle bus and I feel like this month has just been like boom 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 boom, knocking at the books one after another. So the first book that I read was Club Dead by Charlene Harris. I'm not going to say too much about this one because I'm reading it as part of me and Angie's Out of the Coffin read along. We will have our live show on the 1st at 7 o'clock on my channel, so I will tell you all my thoughts, feelings and opinions then. This was another 5-star read for me. I am really loving rereading the series and I'm liking that we're doing it with a variety of different readers. There's some really interesting opinions and thoughts coming across, so that's fantastic. And then I read Sisters of Moonlight, and I read this as part of my I seriously need to finish this challenge. So this book isn't out yet. I actually managed to get an e-arc for it. I got the first one as an arc on NetGalley and I have been skimming for the second one coming out because this is coming out on the 14th of April 2022. So I really loved the first one, and the first one was a 5-star read for me. And the first one came across a lot more middle grade than YA, which was fine. So I plan to read the second one as part of my middle grade March TBR. However, the second one leans definitely more YA than middle grade, so I'm not counting it as part of that. However, it was still a book on my I seriously need to finish this challenge, so like I'm still getting a gold star for it, alright. I don't want to say too much plot wise because obviously the book isn't out yet. It wasn't as good as the first one, is what I will say. I thoroughly adored the first one and there was just a lot about this second one that I did not enjoy, which hurts my heart. Basically, I'm trying to think of what to say so that I don't spoil it. Ken what? Right, I'm just going to spoil it. And if you're planning to read this book and you don't want spoilers, skip to the part where my hand is down. So, this book basically made the entire first book completely and utterly redundant. The plot of the first book is that a brother teams up with a stranger who is trying to save her best friend from like a pure mad witchy cult. They fall in love and the best friend and the sister fall in love and then they all escape together to their happily ever after, except the mad witch has killed off one of the orphan children that they look after. And pretty much like about 4 chapters into this book, like they all split up again. So like redundant. And then like I feel like the characters just go on mad weird side quests that don't really have anything to do with the main plot line, which I didn't like, and it was just a bit frustrating. That's all I'm going to say spoiler wise, and then we'll get back into the normal review. So the writing was still great in this. I loved the writing. It has such like a cosy cottagecore feel to it, which I just really enjoy, and I don't usually enjoy like lyrical descriptive writing. I'm normally like a get to the effing point kind of reader, but I really enjoy Catherine Livesey's writing and she just makes it seem so cosy and cute and great, and I just really love it. And apparently I like writing like that if it's to do with witches. Apparently that's my aesthetic. So apparently I just really enjoy that, which is great. There was a couple of things other than the plot points that I had issue with that I didn't enjoy in this book. I feel like, scaling my tea. The character development for a lot of the characters was weird. So I feel like for a couple of the characters, the character development was just stunted and they didn't really get as developed as I feel like they could have. And I also feel like if the characters did get character development, it was really weird, like super fast forward aging development. There's like this book takes place right after the first book, and like I say, the first book does read very middle grade, and so then I feel like Catherine Livesey's maybe taken that feedback on board and she's tried to make the characters feel a bit more grown up in this one, and I just didn't enjoy the way that she chose to do that. So there's one character who just turns to drink, and there is basically no single page in the book where she isn't drinking rum, and like again, like I'm fine with alcohol and stuff being in books, hell I am fine with alcohol being in me most of the time, so like that is not an issue. But like when a year ago I read this book and you know this character was maybe around like the 13-14-year-old mark to me, to be reading it this time and for her to be going out getting out her face all the time was a bit odd, considering it takes place directly after the last one. And then for another female character, and this is a real pet peeve of mine, I am fine with periods being discussed. Like I think that we should absolutely be talking about periods, and we should end that stigma, and talking about periods and you know sanitary products and general feminine hygiene in that regard should be less taboo and more spoken about. Like I'm absolutely all for that. But what annoys me, and I feel like it's specifically female fantasy writers that do this, is when they use periods as almost a way to signify like she is a woman now, and that is just like really bizarre to me, because so many people take their periods at really different times. Like I've known people who have taken their periods at like 8 and 9, like as young as that, and then there are some people who don't take their periods until like later in their teens. So like it's a bit weird, isn't it? Like, and I just don't like that, because just because someone has gotten their period, it doesn't automatically make them more fuckable. And I feel like that's what a lot of female fantasy writers try to insinuate, like, oh, she's had her first bleed, I see you, like you're fair game now. And I just don't enjoy that. I feel like it's unnecessary, and there are other ways that you could convey that there's like that they are consenting adults going to have a consensual sexual relationship, other than just saying, oh, periods here, you know, like weird. I enjoyed the fact that we got it from more perspectives in this book. In the first one it was just dual perspective, and we get it from 4 main perspectives in this book. So I did enjoy that aspect of it, and I did enjoy the writing, but I feel like the plot and the characters were just mince, to be honest. And I'm so disappointed, because this was one of my really highly anticipated reads for this year, and I had actually planned to purchase a physical copy of the first one for myself and then the second one when it came out, because like I say, I just got them as e-arcs when I originally read them. I have since taken them off my wish list. I don't think that I will purchase them, even though the first one was amazing, and I would still recommend the first one to anybody. Like if you are up for a cute wee cosy cottagecore sapphic witchy middle grade, like please read it, because it's brilliant. But then just like accept the fact that it will end on an entire cliffhanger and you will get the answers, and then don't need the second one. So I ended up rating this one a 3-star in the end, and I don't think that I will continue with this series. No, you know what? I'm not going to continue with this series. I'm saying that like because I know that there's going to be more, like, and it could pull me back in, but no, I really didn't have a great time with the characters in this book, and I think that if they continue to develop in the way that they have been developing, then I'm just going to no enjoy what I'm reading, so I'm not going to continue with this series. Then one of my other most anticipated reads of this year was Under the Whispering Door by TJ Klune, and I buddy read this with Katie from The Introverted Reader. If you aren't subscribed to Katie, stop this video right now and go and subscribe to her please, because she's absolutely phenomenal. She's just so funny and so candid and honest, and she reads such a nice variety of books. She delves into YA fantasy, she does a bit of sci-fi, she does a bit of middle grade, she'll read the odd contemporary romance as well. and she's just great to listen to. Like, her recommendations are absolutely on point, so go check it out. But back to my main man, TJ Klune. I absolutely adored this book so much. It could be a contender for one of the best books that I've read this year, and like last year it was definitely House in the Cerulean Sea, so if TJ Klune gets like the double, good for him, because that rarely happens. He is slowly becoming one of my favourite authors. I just ended up adding a whole load of his back catalogue books to my Amazon wishlist, because I would really love to start reading through some of the other books that he's done based on how I felt about House in the Cerulean Sea and this one. This was just amazing. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and it was absolutely everything that I needed in a book, to be honest. The topics in this were great. It deals with the themes of death and regret and grief, and it was just really brilliant. Somehow TJ Klune manages to make his writing equally heartwarming and heartbreaking at the same time, but you still come away from his books with a really positive message, and that was definitely my experience with House in the Cerulean Sea as well. But I feel like I needed this book, to be honest. I feel like I really needed to read this year. Last year I had a terrible time with losing quite a lot of family members and people who were close to me, and it was really difficult. And you know, grieving is a process, and so I am still grieving for some of the people that I lost last year, and it's coming up to like anniversaries and things like that this year, so they're just on my mind a lot. And there was one person in particular who was on my mind when I was reading this book, because she would have just absolutely have loved to have read this, and so then like I was sort of sad that I couldn't share it with her, but like also really happy at the message the book was giving me, because I feel like I just really needed this. And it's just great, you know, it just really reminds you that not to take life for granted, and really, you know, be mindful how and who you are choosing to spend your time with, because you really don't know how much time you have with people, and like that's definitely true. But there's just some lovely messages in here as well about, you know, making mistakes and that being okay, and then how to pull yourself back for that and make really positive, impactful changes in your life so that you can be the person that you want to be, so that you don't need to live, or in this case die, with regrets. It was really lovely. The relationship in here was fantastic. It was just the right amount of slow build, I feel, and for me to really enjoy a romance is rare, although becoming more frequent, specifically with TJ Klune books. So I loved the romance in here. The friendships in here was brilliant. There was a ghost dog, which was just phenomenal. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was a 5-star for me, which will be absolutely no surprise to anybody, and it was really great getting to read this with Katie, because we were just like messaging each other like all the feels basically, and it was nice to share it with her as well. We both had really similar thoughts and feelings on it, and it was nice to have somebody there when I was like having emotional breakdowns, but like, oh, bitch, have you read this? Because like, it was just nice to share that, so I wasn't just mental and reading it on my own. But it was great. I honestly couldn't have asked for anything else out of this book. It is quite slow paced for the first chunk of the book, but I really don't mind, because I think that the fact that you get to sit with these characters for so long is really impactful and really in keeping with the theme of the book. So I thoroughly enjoyed it. I would recommend this to anybody to read. I think that if you are not a fantasy fan, you would probably still enjoy this. It's definitely a wee bit more realistic than House in the Cerulean Sea, so you could definitely pick this up and read it as like a wee bit of a spooky literary fiction, I think, and less so than a fantasy. I think that if you have lost somebody, this would be a really lovely book to read. And like, if you just like dogs, also read it because the dog in here is phenomenal. And can I just tell you, there were so many like times that I just made Bailey come up and cuddle me, and I just like held him while I was greeting, and he was like, what is going on, mum? Like, what are you up to? But just read this, please. It was brilliant. It was a 5-star. I'll probably recommend this in every video going forward. because it was just beautiful. Thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you're enjoying everything that you are reading at the moment, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye!